Now we get to section 5 where we are going to test our deployed application. So what are some of the things we're going to be covering in this section? It's going to be fully about testing your application. And what are we going to be testing? We're going to call our app with get methods, and we're going to call our app with put methods, and then we're going to move on to post methods, and then we're going to go on to delete methods. So if we have some background to REST APIs, so you would instantly recognize these are the 4 primary methods which people call REST APIs and make modifications to data or read data. Why is testing important? How do we even know that our application got deployed in the cloud? We saw that nice little green arrow which said health okay and everything, but how do we test that it actually does work? So remember, going back to the earlier sessions, the Spring Boot app we deployed takes in some endpoints, REST API endpoints, and gives us back some sample data. And you can do stuff like insert data, update data, and delete all the data. So let's first go ahead and look at our deployed application so we know what is the URL that our application is deployed to. So how do we do that? First, we need to go back to the browser. We go to the deployment page and we see our user application with health okay status and all that. So we have the URL which this application is deployed to mentioned right here. This is the location on the cloud that our application is currently available. So this URL, doesn't look like www.google.com or something. And we can make it, if you own a domain name, we can have a service called DNS or domain naming service. So you can actually, every time you hit something, one of your websites, www.gurunathsugavanam.com, for instance, if I had a website in my name, I click on that and I can set up DNS to forward to this particular site. So which basically means you can register any domain name and you can deploy your application to the Amazon Web Services Cloud, and you can instantly have somebody type in your business or your personal website name and actually be forwarded to a live functioning website on the cloud without having to set up your own infrastructure, your own data center, anything. So that truly is the power of AWS. Now, we are not going to be setting up any personal websites, but we can just use this URL and go get some responses back. So first go ahead and select it and copy it. And if you remember from the beginning of this course, we had set up Postman. And we are going to be checking in Postman what we are going to be doing as far as testing this application. So we are going to first look at testing the get method. And I'm not going to go very deep into REST API concepts, but the get protocol is pretty much reading data. So when you think of get, you need to think of the ability to read data. Now, this doesn't give you any way of changing the data. That comes at a later video, but this is when you say, just get me all the records in the database, or get me everybody in the database with the last name of Smith. So we're going to be first checking this particular thing in Postman. So go ahead and fire off Postman install. Go ahead and click on this. So here we are supposed to enter the URL, HTTP, and then you enter our deployed website. Click send. Okay, so now we get a 404. This is interesting. So why did we do a get on this particular deployed application and get a 404? That's because we need to add some things at the end. Now, if you go back to our Spring Boot application, especially the controller, you will see that you need to add a user-api/v1 at the end. Back into your Postman and do a slash and then do an add. And then you press send again. Once again, we are getting a 404. Is there something more we need to add? Let's go check our app once again. So yes, so the get mappings we have defined as two different get mappings where you can have users/all, which gives you all the users which are currently in our database, or you can have users/ID, where ID is the employee ID of the person in the database. Let's go ahead and try this first, the users/all. Get back into your Postman /users/all. So this seems like the correct URL. Are you going to get some data back? Let's see. Send. There you go. We got a JSON object back from a currently deployed application in production running on AWS cloud. So this is the first get method. The second get method searches based on the ID. We can see it's 1, 2, 3. We have 3 IDs here. Let's say you want to pick the second user, the user with the ID of 2. When you press send, you should be able to get only one record back. Let's see if that happens. And there you go. You get the one record back. So I just filled up some sample data. So you can go ahead and fill up other data when you do the deployment. So we have just verified that our application was deployed into AWS. The URL which Amazon tells us is where it's deployed. We sent some requests to it and it works. So much for the get method.